by the.
Hold on, one line. Well, good evening and welcome to this Sunday, August 15th edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is co-host Andre Doc Manders and Dean Miners. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you this evening?
Evening, Earl.
Well,
Everything is okay?
Well, let's get right into some of these scores thus far. The latest down St. George's is Rangers are 137 for 3 with 5 overs to go, chasing 219. St. David's got 164 for 5 with Bayless Bay at 58 for 3. Somerset won by 5 wickets over Willicots. Willicots got 143 for 3. Somerset scored 144 for 5. In the first division, Western Stars won by 16 runs over Flats. Western Stars scored 133 without loss, and then restricted Flats to 117 for 3. Devonshire Recreation Club won by 28 runs over PHC in a 12-over match. Devonshire Recreation Club scored 130 for 2. PHC scored 88 for 3. And Cleveland County won by 4 wickets over Somerset Bridge. Somerset Bridge scored 153 for 5. And Cleveland County scored 154 for 6. If only they would have been able to hold their nerve yesterday, it might have been a different story. But let's talk a little bit about how things materialized yesterday in the Eastern County second round match between cup holders St. David's and challengers Cleveland County, because after the first hour of play, or the first session, many would have tilted their head to say Cleveland were on top, and at one point they were really on top. Looking at the scorecard, I mean, they had St. David's. When you had the likes of Chris Douglas back in the pavilion, you had Sammy Robinson, Shannon Rayner, Aronde Bascom, and they were 38 for 5. 38 for 5. Let me get your feedback, Doc, because obviously many teams have been in that position and pulled themselves out. But when you start saying 38 for 5, and you have Ricardo Brinkman and the captain Justin Pitcher at the wicket, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, Earl. When I saw Chris Douglas get out, I was like, oh, wow, this definitely is going to be a game, interesting game. Mm. But I always thought Justin Pitcher, is a very decent batsman. Mm. All they needed somebody there to stay with him, right? And once those two settled down, Justin and Ricardo, you could see Cleveland's hair dropped a bit. There was a few. I don't know. They seemed like they just lost a few misfielding. They was actually giving up the singles, right? Mm. But I tell you what, I liked about Justin when he came in. He changed the game. Yeah. He attacked him.
He attacked them. Yeah, right away.
He must have said, well, look, 138 for 5. If I didn't get the runs, he's probably looking at the pavilion. He was going to make runs. Mm. And he attacked him from the start. I think he had a 6 and a 4. And then that, I think that got him going. And then Ricardo was just staying there and taking the singles while Justin was doing the hitting. And I think it was a very good partnership that those two, gave. And then
they had a 103 run partnership.
Right. And that kind of, I think, broke Cleveland's backbone right there. It was a lot of misfielding. I think it was a few, maybe 1 or 2 drop catches. So catches probably could have changed the game too. Yeah. And once that happened, I think that kind of let Cleveland off the hook. Definitely, because in fact, I'd like St. David's off the hook because Cleveland had him. You know what I mean? And I didn't see that enthusiasm what they had early in the game, like when there's first 5 wickets went. You got to remember, in country, it's always going to be a partnership, just like in cup match. You know, you can't. Everybody's not going to feel. So I thought what they done good. They rotated the bowlers a lot, but I think the fielding kind of let them down with a few catches dropped, and they've given up singles unnecessarily.
It was almost like they were running out of steam on the field.
Yeah, and I think they was kind of, what they did do, they built the overs very quickly.
Yeah.
So that always kept in the game. But you look 219, still it was a score they could have chased on, and they almost got it. So it was very interesting game. I really enjoyed it. I don't know what Dean was thinking, but I really enjoyed it.
You had somebody like Dion Stubble at the wicket. And as you know, he's a very, very good student of the game and understands what it needs, what it takes to get over the finish line. Obviously, cramping up hurt him and his team because obviously he's looking at ways he can try to get runs without running as much as he would have been able to had he not had cramp. But when he got out, it seemed like the bottom fell out. Like no one knew how to rotate the strike. No one knew how to, just keep that scoreboard ticking over. At one point in time, I don't think there was anybody inside the circle, and they were still trying to hit the ball outside. When there were enough, it was enough time to take singles. Your thoughts on just hearing that or seeing that, the opportunity lost because the people at the wicket weren't experienced enough to kind of know what to do.
I guess before we get into that, Earl, I wanted to look at St. David's innings first, right? And then can I go back to that? Because
sure.
It was so much on my mind, right? So I looked at it, Justin, 39 for 5. Right there, and then that's when you choke the team and you just completely get into them. And just as Dr. Benny had said, I think they ran out of ideas. I think the approach from Justin and Ricardo, the positive approach, threw the pressure back onto Cleveland. And it offset them because I think Cleveland got into a frame of mind where complacency started to set in. And when that sets in, whereas, okay, it's just going to happen, then that's where St. David's found that open door and said, we're going to go through this door and it's going to, we're going to create our luck. And that's what happened to Cleveland. When they started to get all those wickets, they just felt like, oh, well, the game's just going to fall into our hands. It's not. Cricket is a game where it's just like it ebbs and flows. I mean, it just ebbs and flows. It goes left and right. So right there and then, I think that their approach should have been stepped up even more, especially in the fielding, because once you start, as you guys already know, once you start dropping catches, then you lose momentum.
Yeah.
And you see the bowler's head go down. So now you're looking at body language. And one of the things that I had seen, the body language started to change. Once those guys started to establish themselves, you can see it very easily that the guys, their body language, what is our next thing? What can we do? And that became a challenge for Cleveland. Now, for St. David's, their body language changed because now it gave hope in the dressing room, and now you're encouraging and put a scoring runs, and he's thinking to himself, he's got a great partner, good rotation, because remember, you got the left-hand, right-hand combination, so that's going to throw up the bowler's line. So it was easy pickings, and like you said, he was a great partner. And what great partner to have than somebody like Ricardo, right? If you're going at one end, Ricardo's not going to go. Right. He has an understanding of the game. So there is a great communication there. But I do commend Cleveland. They did get through the overs very quickly, but again, it's what is the plan? What are you bowling to? Because you should have been able to figure out by then the weaknesses. Okay, we're going to stop him from scoring on this side. We're going to, we're going to prevent this. What was the plan? And it's sort of just like, did it go out the window? Are we going to stop them from scoring singles? Are we going to stop them from getting boundaries? What is the plan? Because Baylor's Bay is a very unique field where you have to make sure that certain bowlers bowl at certain ends because it's closer on this end than it is on that end. So you've got to, and batsmen like Justin would have figured this out. And he did figure it out the same way with Deion's innings. Now, looking at Deion, and I'm sorry to take up so much time, but looking at Deion, his innings, of course, like Justin's, but his innings is a little different. His innings, come on, 3 for 5.
Yep.
You're coming to the wicket, 3 for 5. Yep. That in itself, and I take my hat off to him, that in itself is undeniably pressure in that situation. But what better person to have it than him? And for him to take his team to from where it was to his batting approach, everything about his innings was classic of again, I think it should have been a classic finish.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that point, but it should have been a classic finish. Now, on top of that, you did have a number of drop catches. And I thought for a minute there, I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, you know what? I think St. David's wanted to give it to him.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is it a situation where it's just like, is this match fixing or what? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you and I've always known when you create your luck, it's almost like when you get those opportunities, okay, nobody have one to catch, and I steal and another one, and oh, this is my day, and that's all you get pumped up. You think to yourself, this is your day, and so Deion's approach was profound, great assistance there with batting partners that came along, came along the way. And it should have been closure. It should have been closure. And I don't want to jump into it, but I appreciate the innings that he played was absolutely profound.
Right. I wished people would have gotten more, seen more of the youngster Zach Tomlinson. He's been in the UK playing, and he got run out, but I think they got a glimpse of what this young man is possibly capable of by staying there with Deion to help steady the ship a little bit.
Yes.
But unfortunately, he got run out. So a lot to come from this young man, and I think that's we can look forward to that. Doc, when you looked at with Deion now back in the pavilion, you had Mackay Young at the wicket. You had also here comes the experience of Dennis Musson.
Yeah.
Still in with a chance, but of course, in their own right, that they're not recognized batsmen of sorts. I mean, Mackay's would be considered a slugger of the ball, and Dennis has at times in county bailed Cleveland out with the bat. But if you looked at it, you would say, okay, here's two guys at the wicket. The thought process just did not work for him in that regard. What as a coach, what do you think should have been the message sent?
That was my thing. I don't know what game plan they had, because normally in a situation that when Deion got out, Mackay was, you got to remember, Mackay was on 26 or 30, and he was batting pretty good. You got to remember, Mackay Young scored a century. I think his last Eastern County, I think he got a century down at St. Davis. Because remember last year it wasn't one. Okay. So he's got experience betting, but I didn't know what when Dennis Musson came in, I didn't know what the game plan was, because it looked like what Mackay should have done initially was to take over. Dean went. Yes. He was supposed to be the recognized batsman, but of course he got run out. But I didn't know what transpired in the lead up to all that time wasting And you know, when all that, because that kind of put a lot of pressure on Cleveland because they used up a lot of time. My only thing with that new law now, it's 720 no matter what happens.
Yeah,
You can't finish it. Yeah. So what about the overs? Like, is it 100? I'm not sure. Is it 100 overs?
It's 118, but you take away 2 for the changeover, so it works out to be 116 overs.
Right. So
that
how
have
much
to be billed in the day?
Yes.
Okay. So my thing was being that was the last over because it was the time. You know, I just think that Cleveland missed the boat because all that time they ate up like 78, 10. I don't know how much it was.
Well,
that was special time.
I don't want to
tell you the truth. I was telling somebody this is a perfect opportunity for St. David's to give Cleveland what they done to Bailey's Bay.
Yeah, they could have. But they didn't seem like they didn't do it.
Cleveland County fans could have been able to say because of the fact that they done it first, or they have done it.
And I got to give kudos to St. David's because they never did try, even during all that. It wasn't St. David's that was facing time.
Right.
They was just juggling. Well, that 10 minutes could have helped in the end. I don't know what transpired, what happened, but I think Mackay kind of I think it lost it a bit because he probably caused the team, because I knew if he would have probably stayed there, it might have been a lot closer. I'm not saying they would have still won, but he was the informed batsman in the time.
Right.
Dennis Musson just came in. So, it's going to take a little while. He take a little while to get to the wicket, and then he started hitting towards the end, but unlucky for him, he was up the other end the last over.
Right.
When Mackay got run out, they had, after that, it was 2 new batsmen that came.
Youngsters, Cypress and Keith.
Yeah. 2 coats. So you put 2 coats, a lot of pressure on those 2 coats coming in, It's like, no. Whereas I don't know how they probably could have split that up a bit more in the betting. That's my only
right.
But I think what they was probably trying to do, they was hoping that Dion and Mackay stayed.
Would have stayed there, yeah.
But like you said, it was like St. David's was trying to give that trophy because all those catches that was dropped. Normally in a game, if you drop 2 or 3 catches, that costs you the game.
Yeah.
It's like St. David's dropped 5. And they still won. Now, how could that happen? Like, that's is unbelievable. But I got to give credit to George, George and the brothers, because they still stayed there. Even though they dropped the catches, some heads dropped, but they still stayed into the game. You got to give kudos to St. Davis, because I don't know how they pulled that out, but they did.
Right.
But I think at that time Mackay should have just kept his head a little bit more, and maybe he probably could have won that game for Cleveland.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, Dean, we want to turn our attention to the misfortunes of behavior in the sport of cricket. We'll be right back.
We're welcoming back the often featured Whole Food veterans Bragg Live Food Products, renowned for their live probiotic organic raw cider vinegar and savory seasonings. Paul Bragg is the man behind the products and has originated health food stores, restaurants, and spas, and promoted nutrition education through the media, helping lay the foundation for the enlightened way we make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. This month we're featuring Bragg Organic Raw and Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar and Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. I know last week, Dean, we talked with the Director of Youth and Sport about trying to tackle the social issues that come into sports as well. I have put together some stuff that I will be forwarding to him tomorrow. I know you were looking to do the same, and hopefully we can get together. But it would appear that whenever the big occasions, the big stages are set for and we're talking cricket right now, for these games, that there's always an incident that kind of stands out, and it stems from either lack of discipline or just wanting to, I guess for lack of a better word, show dissent And to be honest, it's a repeat story each time. But it's got to be tackled. It's got to be, because it's steadily getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Well, Earl, let's look at yesterday. All right. So Doc, from what we knew, right, from what we saw, all right. So the ball is thrown in from Rick. I think it was Ricky Fogo. Right, throws the ball in. Keeper goes, looks to collect it. All right, makes contact. The ball makes contact with McCoy. All right, he goes, of course, check his hair, a little bit of blood, and then I think he just loses it. All right. No, through my investigation, where it is, I think he turned and looked at Ricky, and Ricky, what they're saying is, he might have thought that Ricky intentionally went ahead and allowed the ball to hit him, or whatever the case may be. So, of course, in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the game, words are expressed. All right. So in that moment, words are expressed, heat of the moment. Here's a guy that flies off the handle. All right. He's the number one guy in the game, in the most important game to them. All right. Which I'm still trying to digest. I couldn't even sleep last night because I couldn't even digest it. So he flies off the handle. You're in a timed cricket game. The game ends at 7:20. The incident happens around 7:05, 7:10, right? So you lose 10 minutes. 10 minutes, as we already know, you're probably losing, what it's 3 to 4 minutes takes for an over, right? All right, so 3 to 4 minutes takes. So Connie game yesterday, you're talking about you could have 2 overs, right? Which is basically 12 balls, right? So you could have, that's 12 balls you've missed out on, right? For the life of me, I still don't, as I swear, as I read it, as people talk to me, I don't understand. I really don't understand how that if you are playing for your and may you rest in peace, Mr. Smith, you're playing for the president, you're giving it your all. It's almost like playing in a football game. You get tackled and you leave your team 10 men. And you're in the FA Cup final and you're all over a team. You lose control in that moment. And that's the concern that I have with our cricket right now, is because that in itself, that club that you play for, the whole season is banked on County Cup.
County Cup, yeah.
So whether guy throws, hits, whatever the case may be, you have to bottle that in and just say, you know what, we'll deal with this incident after the game. If you felt that it was, well, I'm going to finish this game first to get our team across the line. Because after the game, from what I heard, everybody's cool. I don't understand where our focus is, where our game management is, where the sportsmanship lies, gamesmanship lies. I don't understand it. And that's where I'm having a problem, because now, you hear these things, you're waving a bet at the fans. It's where does it end? Where does it stop? What can we do? And this is where this gentleman's sport that we are trying to preserve in our country, what is happening to it? And that's where I have a concern about. On top of that, I'm thinking to myself, Earl, think about it. And Doc, you can think about it as well. If I was playing for St. George's Cricket Club in a cup match situation, and I did the same thing, and I was playing with Noel Gibbons, Charlie Marshall, Clevie Wade, Clay Smith, Vandal Smith, if I was playing with those guys, I would have caught British Airways flight out of her. I would have probably had to get a police escort off the field, escorting me, because I couldn't go back into the changing room. I could only imagine my neighbors, Mr. Thompson, and I could only imagine people like Brutus, Noel Smith, they wouldn't even speak to me.
Right.
So why are we dropping these standards? And I mean, hey, listen, if I'm Cleveland County, I'm saying to Cleveland County, listen, I'm telling you right now, listen, mate, you need to sit with us. Yeah, take the rest of the season off. As harsh as it's coming across, that's how I feel. Take the rest of the season off because, first of all, you got to go and apologize to Dion. This man's batted for 100 runs, got cramp all over his body. He did it for the club. If he was selfish enough, he would have finished at maybe 75. You know what I mean? Because it's a team sport. He stayed there for 100 for you. But you go ahead and allow an incident like this to override it and not come on, man. It's we have to do something. It's something that's to be done with the clubs. The clubs have to get on these players and say, listen, that's it. We cannot. And guess what? If you really want to play for this club, you will come back and play. But as of right now, it's ludicrous. That's absolute. One of my mates, he said to me, right? He said, Dean, let me tell you something. If he was in my team, I would have chased him all the way to Coney Island, and he would have ran out of land. He would have been swimming in the water. I don't get it. I don't understand it. In the heat of the moment, why are we reacting the way that we are reacting? And cool heads should prevail when we should be calm in situations and say, all right, listen, let's just get on with it. And it's true, Earl. We have to stamp out this anti-social behavior that we're seeing on our cricket grounds.
Yeah,
we have to. It's ludicrous, man.
I would say before Doc you answer, I would say coming up, every team had what we consider a loose cannon, but the players around that player would make sure that he did not cost them the game at any time. You want to act up, you go over there and act up. But when you come back to this team, you come back and you're being a part of the team. If not, you gotta go. Check it later. And every team had somebody like that in it. Every last one of them.
But I understand. I get it. I understand that it became a pressure situation.
Yes.
The game started to create a pressure situation. So then recognize whoever the two batsmen are, recognize, hey, get some gloves out to him, get some water out to him, get something out to him. If you feel that this player is a loose cannon and we dealt with it, hey, let's get something, somebody gets out to him, send him some gloves, give him a message. And this is the things that we need to see more of. Get the message out there. What's the plan? And Doc, you said it earlier on. It's almost like, what is the plan? We because from the sidelines, we can look at a game and then we can also identify to say, as former cricketers, you can look at a game and say, they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. What's the plan? Are they waiting for this next bowler? Are they looking to get this guy on? Is he looking to get strike? What's the plan? Is he looking to get to the short boundary, hit to the short boundary? Dennis Musson comes in, right? Players defensive. Where's the rotating of the strike?
Yeah.
Where's the backing up? We have it's almost this. And I remember the talk with Mr. Logie. It's just that we have to do theory. We have to go back and get theory into our players all over again to help them understand in certain situations the game calls for a certain behavior. You said it early on with Justin, with Dion. How many players will look back and reflect and look at their innings and look at the behavior and the character that they had?
Crazy.
I don't understand it.
Your thoughts, Doc?
Yeah, I agree with Dean, but they missed that game plan because you're supposed to go into the bet. Plan A, plan B, and sometimes plan C if things don't go right. The minute either one of them got out, Dion or Mackay, either one got out, the next batsman supposed to go in, no the jobs. Like you said, Dennis was supposed to pick up a few singles just to ease up Mackay. It didn't happen. I think Mackay was probably getting frustrated because one time he was waving the bet, saying like, what are you doing? Like, so he's not only getting frustrated by itself, he's getting frustrated at the batsman because he wasn't picking up the singles. I saw that on TV, but now that you told me what happened, and I did see when Mr. Fogo, Ricky Fogo threw the ball in, and I saw something bounce up and hit him. But like you said, Ricardo couldn't. For me, from watching it on TV, didn't like Ricardo couldn't do anything. The ball hit him. I didn't know that it hit him in his face. So I knew it hit him somewhere, and like you said, I knew that he was mad at something. But like you said, Dean, he wasn't only mad at that. He seemed like he was mad what happened with Dennis, how Dennis was betting, and then that, putting pressure. Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying. The game plan should have been like, Dennis should have went to him and said, this is what we're going to do. Look for the singles. Mackay, you got to do this here. Started Mackay up the alley in, like, what's going on? Like, why you ain't hitting the ball? Why you shrink? Yeah. So he's getting frustrated. So in the meantime, he's not getting the strike also. So it's becoming frustrated, like you said. So that could have been avoided. But like you said, on the behavior, we have to try to stamp this out because it's televised, It's like, people's watching it on TV, this is the second time we had cup match now, we had Eastern Conference. We have to bring this behavior problem, look at it, stop it, man, because as cup match players, Eastern Conference players, or cricketers, we don't like to see that, man. That was such an interesting and good game for it to, end something like that. Durga or Cleveland lost out 10 minutes because one of the players is like, come on, man, we have to do better than this, man. But we need to, the game itself, like, they're always calling remember before Eastern Conference and Cup match used to be always draws, and now it's getting exciting. Right. But it's like the players, the players have got to now realize that, look, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. Not every time you're going to win, Right. They got to take their losses like they win. But my thing is, now we got to start setting our standards a lot better. That comes from the club, letting the players know, the coaching staff, everybody look represent, not only representing your club, you're representing yourself, but you're representing your family. We have to start doing that because too many of our good players, or even players that are coming out to play, we want to try it and get everybody included. Like you said, it's always one bed up in the team. Sometimes you get one or two. But as a player, sometimes I'm going to go up and talk to the player. Look, you don't want to televise. You've got thousands of people watching. Be on your best behavior. He's not going to go away. Come on, man. And that not only looks bad on him now, it's course his club, the Eastern Conference.
One of the things I noticed that some people can't handle pressure in certain situations. And when they feel their back's up against the wall, their only way out is to react and act out. Obviously, everybody knows those players and their temperaments. They seem to do that whether they're playing tennis, whatever. But you know the person. And as a coach, you have to be able to identify that. And like you said, take water out to him, calm him down. When you saw him flailing around and motioning that, because now anxiety is in it. He's getting frustrated. So it's an incumbent of the coach to go out, get something, the coach or the captain, send something out to him, calm him down. When you get the strike, show him what you want him to do. Rotate the strike if you're not getting the boundary. Instead of, you're up the other end, now he's going to try and do something that is out of character. He gets out, and you're even more mad now because you're in a deeper hole. You know what I mean? So we have to identify those, what we consider players that are emotionally strong, and get to them as quickly as possible when things start to get tough. And you know that there is so much pressure on those players because they wanted to win it for their former president. And again, Dean, you said it, rest in peace. But they put the pressure on themselves, and then the spectators around are putting more pressure. So I'm pretty sure with them, when they were 3 for 5, that pavilion probably said, you know what, it ain't gonna happen today. But after Dion put them in the position, along with Mackay, then came the trouble. Because the Seabreeze started to close in, started to choke them. It was choking St. David's because they were dropping the catches. Yeah. But Cleveland were feeling the pressure as well. And the unfortunate thing was, through their own behavior, it cost them the game. It cost them time that they could have actually had more time and not had that much pressure on themselves to finish the job.
Can I just say something? When you said that, that's interesting, Earl. I looked at it a little different. It was I didn't say because of their behavior. I think it was like one player's behavior, because the rest of the players, if you think about it, Cleveland players were trying to calm them down. I saw a few of the players came on the field. They tried to settle them down.
Right.
But at that time, I thought it was probably just too late, That could have, like Dean said, that could have been resolved soon as Dion got out. Makai, this is what we want to do. Dennis came in as ex-captain. Look, this is what we want to do. So, and Makai was supposed to stick to that game plan. But to me, watching it on the telly, it looked like something didn't happen between those two, because Makai, like I said, was getting frustrated. And something didn't happen. Maybe Dennis was supposed to, I don't know, tell him, but it didn't seem like, I didn't even know if they was talking together with all that confusion. It was just crazy. But like I said, in the most part, most of the players that I saw on the field, both teams was pretty good, other than that one incident. I don't know if Dean, if you saw anything, but that was the major incident I saw.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the other thing is, it's just that, and we also know in playing in sport, it's just that when you're out in the middle, it's just you two. When you think about two batsmen being out in the middle, whether you're being frustrated or not, come down to me and talk to me. Because that's why you're the non-striker. You give me information. You say to me, listen, you're not doing this right, or you're not doing this right. That critical information could have helped me, or could have helped Dennis. Because remember, he's coming to the wicket. He's got anxiety. So why not talk to him and just say, listen, hit the ball. I'm going to get down there as quickly as I possibly can, because you're struggling.
Right.
That's where the communication part comes in. You're struggling. Let me get down there. We're in this relationship together. When you come to the wicket, when I come and meet you, I'm giving you as much information as I possibly can to unsettle your nerves. I'm not just going to walk up to you and just going to say, good luck. Who does that? Listen, this is what this guy's doing. This is what this guy, not so much information, because I already know you, not so much information where it's just like it makes you feel uncomfortable, but it's what you want to know. What is he doing? He's doing this. Is the wicket doing this? Yeah, it's doing a bit of it. You might want to stay on the front foot. Don't go play back a little, you know what I mean? But this is where and I hope you guys agree with me, that being a student of the game, you got to be a student of the game. And I think that this is what we need to create in our country. We need to create more, get back to having more students of the game. These guys that will walk in and recognize the situation, what it calls for, look at the scoreboard. You don't have to tell them anything, because how can you tell me that a player has been playing cricket for so many different seasons and still don't recognize what this situation calls for? To me. And the other thing is, and I know that you said it with the social media and everything like that, but Doc, I remember a senior player telling me one time before, said, listen, son, let me tell you something. This game was here before you, and when you leave, it's going to be here after you. So I think these players have to understand that you're here to basically maintain and preserve this game of cricket in Bermuda. Because really and truly, if they honestly think that the game's going to stop because of them, it's not going to stop. And I think that's the message that we have to go ahead and get across. We have to get this message across. But just like you guys said, there was some good cricket played. Some really, really good cricket played.
Unfortunately.
That was full of emotion, roller coaster ride, ups and downs.
The whole game.
Yeah.
Interesting. It went from St. Davis to Cleveland to St. Davis back to Cleveland. What more do you want? Like, I really wanted that game to finish the last ball. They still had 3 balls left. Of course. 3 balls left, I think, in their last over. So I really want to see that game finish and both teams did give their all, but I wanted to finish both teams because the fans would have enjoyed that a lot more. It's going to make it interesting the next game, Bay and St. Davis now, because even though that with that little incident, but I think the next game is going to make it more interesting because it's going to be closer because Bay's playing. So trying to get the crowds out, and I know it's only 1,200. But still, when I looked at it on TV, that field must have had 1,200 because it looked like it looked really nice on TV, man. It looked like it was, Cleveland and St. Davis will bring out crowds anyway. Especially because, like I said, Fluke, such a Fluke passing and all the Cleveland fans coming out because of him.
Right.
And you could see it that they was fighting straight to they was fighting for him. You could see right to the end. They was hyped up, but I think after that partnership, they just lost it a bit. Because when they had them 5 for 38, they was doing everything. And then they just, they got to remember partnership's going to happen. But I enjoyed the game, man. I really did.
And remember, I mean, I think that, I go back to Dion, and I think that's another thing. And I'm glad that you pointed out. Sometimes when you have these big players, other players support around him, but also at the same time, it's a great opportunity for you to step up and be the hero because he took you that far. And I think that's where, like you said, that's where Cleveland dropped off, because at that time, I think they should have basically said, let's go ahead and push on. Because sometimes you do get these big players that fail. You bring the guest players in, and it's a lot of pressure for them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure for them.
Sure
you are a guest player and you're supposed to perform, and it's a lot of pressure for them. So that's another added pressure, for them to go out and perform. But again, like you said, I think it was definitely for them to win. Definitely.
Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to look at some of the interesting results from today, as the top two teams in the Premier Division both lost today, leaving that title race wide open. We'll be right back.
We're spotlighting our old friends Woodstock Farms, who started up 50 years ago in the belief that we need more trustworthy natural food sources. Starting with one product, their line, mostly certified organic, is now more than 250 strong in 10 categories. This month we're featuring accoutrements of the barbecue, for us the pinnacle of home cuisine and one of the few forms of restorative recreation now within our reach. Try Woodstock Organic Sweet Relish, Tomato Ketchup, Baby Kosher Dill Pickles, Sauerkraut, and Hickory and Original Barbecue Sauce. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Well, welcome back. St. George's Cricket Club pulled off a 58-run win over Southampton Rangers, handing them their first league defeat of the season. The Southampton Rangers do have a game in hand, and it is against St. George's as well. But looking at the scorecard, Dean, St. George's batted first, scored 219 for 3. Alan Douglas scored 102 not out off of 67 balls, hitting 5 fours, 9 sixes. Aronde Bascom scored 93 off of 46, 11 fours, and 3 sixes. Someone we were talking about before, Nairobi Mills, got 3 for 22 off of his 4. And then in reply, Southampton Rangers could only manage 161 for 8. Their top scorer was Alex Dorr, who has returned to Bermuda. He got 37. Gennaro was next with 36, but not many runs from many after that. In the bowling department, Treadwell Gibbons finished with 2 for 11 off of 3 overs. So your thoughts on Southampton Rangers, their first league defeat of the season?
It's a bit of a shock. Yeah, honestly, that is a bit of a shock for them.
I know. I just know one thing. They're missing Dion, because I think he ran away today. Okay. It's like a big miss. He's going, but it is a big shock. But St. George's, you're going to the one. That's what they will probably need, a cup match, innings like that from Allen, something like that, right? But Allen could do that anytime. I'm not really, I think it's a shock. But when you look at Rangers team, right? They are missing, a good bulk of players, from last season anyway. So I got to give kudos to St. George's, man. 213, that's a lot of runs to chase.
219, yeah, a lot of runs.
That you need, narrow, and you always don't want to depend on Gennaro to make what you want time. You know what I mean? But you got Gennaro, Graham Tucker playing, and the shirt I'm missing like Dion with his bowling and his batting. So that was like a big mess in the team. Yeah. So it's gonna, like you said, it's interesting now because it's opening the league right back up. And I looked at the stats just now. They lost too, so that's like you said.
Yeah, when you get to that one too, yeah.
Like I said, Earl, that you said it right. I mean, with Dion not playing, with a few players missing, and for St. George's to go ahead and take advantage and to bat first, that was a big one, to bat first and score. Yeah. I mean, Dougie's good. Dougie was up for a big one anyway.
Yeah.
So really and truly, they just capitalized off it, and I think they done really well. They put themselves really, really well. But to, like you said, to score 200, I mean, they really ran at them. So that's a great win. That's a great win.
Yeah. Then we move to the St. David's Bailey's Bay. St. David's won by 52 runs. Batting first, St. David scored 164 for 5. Justin Pitcher picked up where he left off yesterday. He had 50 not out. Derek Brinkman added 34. In the building department, Sancho Jackson got 3 for 38 over 4. And then Bailey's Bay could only manage 112 for 8. Their top scorer was Rodney Trott with 44. The next batsman was Zico Burgess with 20. The pick of the bowlers, Brian Hall took 4 for 22 over 4. That gives Bailey's Bay their second loss of the season, but they stay tied on points because Southampton Rangers have that game in hand. But 2 losses is very difficult. And if Rangers could win that game in hand, then they're 10 points behind.
Interesting for Clenny, because St. Davis and Bay play. That's St. Davis. You know what St. Davis is saying now? I got one on them already.
Of course, yeah. I'll take it.
I'm telling you,
of course.
Yeah, and that's another 2 weeks.
The mental game of it.
A mental game of it, yeah. So I'm not saying it's gonna be like that, but it's always good to picture.
Listen, I'm pretty sure right now, Stephen Otterbridge is spending a lot of time outside Gennaro's house.
Yeah.
Because there's a possibility. There's a possibility.
It is a possibility. Yeah.
There's always that possibility. And
right.
I mean, having an experienced player like that in the team, even if he doesn't get any runs to it, just having his presence in the team could settle. Because right now, if you look at it, Bailey's Bay have a very young team.
Yeah.
And very young. You never know. I mean, the county pressure, as we've seen it, is huge. It's huge. The home, they got the last game, they're playing against St. David's. That added pressure, if you don't have enough experience in your team, it might fall right by the wayside quickly, and you won't be able to get it back.
So tell me something. In the Eastern Conference, you allow 2 guest players, right?
Yes.
So, well, what I heard, I think they said they want to trade. It's some names that are
going around. Yeah.
It's Trey. I think Derek. Remember Derek? But anything Derek, he plays for St. Davis, so I don't know how that's gonna work. And then and now and they had talked about Detroit Smith too.
Yes.
Detroit. And now you're talking about Gennaro, so I don't know about that, but
lives in the area. So hey,
but they have it's like you said, they have a very young team, and like you said, it's good to pay these younger guys, but you need 1 or 2 experienced guys, especially in Honey. And you saw it happen yesterday.
You need to be pressing with the head in there, rather when you're in the field, when the team because if you look at it, right? Yesterday, just watching Cleveland, they have a very emotional captain. But you had Dow and Curtis on the sideline, kind of trying to run things, put the fielders in positions and tighten up the fielding and all that. But you need level heads. I mean, Dion was helping out the skipper, but imagine if you don't have that extra help. You need help on the field especially when you have a captain who may be the one losing his mind. Who's calming him down? Who's keeping him, that type of stuff. All that has to be thought about. I mean, okay, I can't see, Bayless Bay captain is Terran Frey. I can't see him losing his head. He's got that experience, but another experienced person beside him wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt you at all.
It brings me back. I remember I did a coaching stint at Flats, and I'll never forget the time, or you're just talking about it. I was actually coaching on the field. We were playing, and I remember George Kenner, he said to me, he says, I've never seen that, coaching on the field, because what happens is, you are so right about it, especially bringing younger players through, they need the guidance. It's almost like, you will see them drifting all over the place. Even senior players drift.
Yeah.
So listen, it's okay. You can mark your territory where you're fielded. So you know exactly where you're fielding. I don't even see players doing it anymore, right? No, dig a little dirt, a little hole for yourself so you know where you're fielded. And then it's that constantly asking questions like, are you saving 1 or are you saving 4? But you are right. Our players need, that guidance. I mean, I'm all for seeing younger players being put in those positions. You know what I mean? Like I'm sort of like, well, Gennaro put him to the side. But we're in a very unique position right now in our cricket that we need to maybe have these senior players on the field of play to alleviate the pressure from these players. And to guide them through it. You're so right. You're so right that it should be strongly considered. And
options.
And on top of that, when you have players like Trey Manders, all these senior players, allow them to be vocal in the change room to help the younger players. You know what I mean? Give them that opportunity. You're going to have to. The captain's going to have to rely on guys like, hey, Trey, listen, you can go ahead and talk. You're going to have to empower the seniors. We need to empower more of our senior players, the responsible ones, empower them to help along, because we need it. Because I wanted to get back on the point of, even in international cricket, we still see ourselves being in those positions where the behavior we have behavior issues in the international arena with our cricket. And that's due to the fact of pressure situations. Now you're dealing with highly skilled players from other countries. They're going to give you a little chirp. Can you deal with it?
Yeah.
So this whole point of that cricket psychology that we were talking about, we really have to address that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, up at White Hill Field, Somerset Cricket Club beat Willowcotts by 5 wickets. Willowcotts scored 143 for 3 in their inning. Their top scorer was Kwesi James with 79 not out. That followed his, I believe he got a century last week. The pick of the bowlers was L.J. Richardson, 2 overs, 1 for 8. And then Somerset scored 144 for 5 with Jordan De Silva not out on 38 as the top scorer. Chris Douglas also got 38 as well. And Kevin Fabler 2 for 28 off of 4. So the top of the table, actually, in the Premier Division, everybody stayed. Well, the two top teams in Rangers and Bayless Bay, they have 50. Somerset now have 40. St. George's and St. David's now have 30. Willowcotts don't have any points, but it's getting close at the top. So it's still anybody to win the league and anyone to join Willowcotts in the relegation. So although you talk about St. George's and St. David's both have the 30 points, you can go down with possibly 50 points. Because everybody keeps winning. You have to now. St. George's has to beat St. David's, and St. David's have to beat St. George's when they play. That would probably decide who goes down. So, yeah, that's the the Premier Division done. Now let's take a look at the First Division, because Western Stars defeated Flats by 16 runs. Western Stars scored 133 with Outlaws. Trey was the top scorer for Western Stars. He scored 72 not out, and Jaden Manders added 54 not out. Now Trey's knock, he faced 45 balls, hit 2 4s, 6 6s. Jaden faced 40 balls, and he hit 4 4s and 2 6s. Doc, was that any you watched?
Huh? Yeah, I know it was a 14 over game.
Yeah, it was a 14 over game.
Yeah. 14 over game. I was watching it online because I didn't think they was going to play, because they said that the wicket was a little wet at the time. So I think it started about an hour late, over an hour. So I was on my way. I said, should I come? And they wasn't sure. Then they started. I was like, it was too late. But I was following my nephew Jacon was saying that Flats won the toss and sent to me.
Right.
And it's 14 over, so you need to get I guess they must say let's send Trey up, because Trey's been on form. Right. He made 86 last week.
Right.
So it worked out good. They sent a left and a right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I tell you the left and right, it teams don't know sometimes.
Yeah.
If you got a nice left, and what happened, what my nephew was telling me was that reading from online, that Jaden was taking the singles and picking up or Trey was doing the hit.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, your role. That's your game plan, and it just to happen that they batted you 14 overs.
14 overs, yeah.
So they got a reasonable score. I think it was 133, 135. What it was.
133.
But at that time, I keep telling guys it's better to do that, because new batsmen to come in. But those two was at the wicket, and I was hoping that none of them got out. So it put pressure on Flats. And Flats came up pretty good. Then they got 113 for 3.
Yeah.
So
they got 117 for 3. Reggie Baker scored 81.
81 not out. Right. Yeah. So it was a good game. They said the wicket, even though it was wet, it was a fairly decent wicket. I think they let it dry it out a bit. But like I said, it's interesting saying, like, sometimes even if it's 14 overs, 5 overs, whatever it is, because you got 5 overs, sometimes you can play 5 overs, if the rain delay. So you still have to come up with a game plan. Like, game plan, you have to go in these 2020 games, Eastern Conference, you have to have a game plan. And then always says left, sometimes it throws bowlers up, because if you got 2 right-handers, bowlers, it's not changing the field, guys are getting made because I got to go this side of the field.
Yeah.
Left and right. And what's good about Stars, they have in the top 4 or 5 is always like a left and right. So, that's why St. Davis gets over too. Like, with Chris, left and right too. Cut match the same way, left and right, with Somerset. It sometimes that, I don't know, it works in a way, because, you got 2 decent bowlers. If you got a right-handed bowler that's in swing and putting pressure on the right-hand batsman, and you got all right-handers, trust me, you're not going to score runs. That's why it's always good to throw. You throw a left-handed in, it throws them off a bit. So from what I get, I think Stars doing good. But I looked at the bowling, and they still have to work on the bowling. For me, they still give them up too much runs. Teams that. Teams are scoring, like, they're only winning by sometimes 16, 17, 20 runs. Because in the bowling, so they have to work on maybe the bowling and fielding. But they're playing that's one of the. I tell you what, that's one of the went back, because he wanted to play with the constant. Being that my brother passed away, and being my mama, so he was like, he wanted to keep it a family thing. It was hard for him to leave Rangers. But he wanted to keep it in the family, like he wanted to play with his cousins, because like Jaden, Jamori, then Chacon was, come back. So, and it's feeling like at home now, so it's making him set up and bet now, his bet is coming along. And not only that, it's helping the others along too, like, he's talking to the rest of the team, like, and they feel like comfortable around him. So I think that was probably another good result for him. Like, they beat Cleveland last week. And now this week, now Flats. So and I think
they actually are the league leaders. Yeah, they have 50 points now.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So now we'll go to Devon Chirac winning by 27 runs over PHC. Devon Chirac scored 130 for 2 and restricted PHC to 103 for 4. And the final first division match saw Somerset Bridge go down to
Cleveland.
Cleveland County, yeah. Cleveland County got Somerset Bridge got 153 for 5. Cleveland County scored 154 for 6. Clarence Trott was the top scorer for Somerset Bridge, 49 not out. Jelani Richardson got 2 for 17 off of 3 for Cleveland County. And in reply, Cleveland scored 154 for 6. Makai Young was the top scorer with 54 not out. Noah Woods picked up 3 for 25 over 3.4 overs in that match. And that's a look at the roundup of Premier and First Division cricket this weekend. Dean, you look puzzled.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested and Doc has made me really think that, when we're talking about this game plan, I was always known that, you're talking about the power play, right? So you got 2 opening bats, right, in this whole game plan, right? So you got 2 opening bats that are going to open the innings. I've known this fact that, you give them maybe 18 balls to get themselves adjusted, all right? So they got 18 balls, 3 overs to have a look at the wicket. If it's a bad ball that comes, then they could go ahead and, have a go. And then particularly after that, then it's, you're looking at either 6 runs and over, 7 runs and over, 8 runs and over, whatever's conducive for the wicket. So I'll be very interested into talking to different coaches and different teams to see exactly, what is this wicket? Is this a 130 wicket? Is this a 160 wicket? You know what I mean? I'll be very, very interested into seeing the captains and the captain's approach here, because many of the fields that are basically being played on, I wonder if teams are asking around and saying, listen, we're playing in St. George's next week. How many runs were scored on that wicket?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many runs are scored? Is that a 213 wicket? Is that a 200 wicket? Should we bat first? Should we bowl first? Yeah, I mean, you're going to deal with elements, whatever the case may be. But just like Doc said, I mean, you have to adjust your batting order because in a 2020, you're right into it, right? So you would have to adjust your batting order due to the fact that, hey, listen, he's going to bowl first. So let's adjust this. Let's make the adjustment, because you just can't go into any game and just go ahead and say, like, okay, you guys are normal. You're a normal open bat. If this guy can't bowl to left-handers, why not open bat with a left-hander?
Exactly.
So I think that once we start to get into this, what is the game and all those other factors that come into this 2020 game, it's going to make us think more. Sometimes, you might have to open up with a spinner. Why? What is the reason for it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is the reason? Just don't go out and just play this game.
Right.
This game,
right.
This 2020 game is more of a thinking man's game. It's quick, it's fast, but it's, and you see it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You said that, Dean. I've been watching some of the Premier games and First Division, and teams have been doing that. They might start off a pace, and then the other open bird probably been in spin.
Yeah.
Variations. Like you said, they've probably been looking at your wickets to see if it, taking spin or medium pace. And that's very interesting what you said, because a lot of the games that are playing, they're playing at 4 grounds. And if you notice, like St. Davis, sometimes his scores have been beat. The total's been pretty good now on there. White Hill Field, because it's a small field. So you have to when you're batting and building, you have to go in there for game plan. Of not, you're not going to win the game. You can't just go there. Oh, I don't know. Why if it's a good wicket, sometimes, right? If you go to bat first, what score you have to get. Some teams just go in there, just bet. 150 will get me. That's not going to be enough. If they look at the previous games, teams are scoring 200, and then you wonder why you're losing. You got to start doing the 20, 50 overs, even Eastern Conference. Like you look at the wickets, you gotta know how this wicket is playing before you go down and play it. It's all part of coaching, captains. They make it easier for them too.
Right.
Well, I'm reminded, Doc, real quick. I'm reminded of when Bermuda went into the 2020 tournament in Dubai, and how quickly teams assess Bermuda.
Yeah.
As quickly. So in even after the first game, they just we'll open up with a spinner against Bermuda.
Yeah.
We'll do this to Bermuda. We'll do that to Bermuda. Yeah. So my thing is, how quickly were they able to assess? And that's what we have to start doing in our local cricket here, is to quickly assess, because that's what we're going to be facing in international competition, such as with the behavior, such as with the cricket thinking mind concept. We have to go in and do that. We have to start thinking quicker and sharper. So, yeah, we got some work to do, man.
Why you want that? That's why these teams, those coaching things, like I said, international level, they're doing video analysis, right? They're looking how Bermuda scores. Come on, and there's guys in the last 2020, against the fast bowlers, these guys are like 60, 70, 80 runs in 5 overs. And then they found out at the spinners open up with spin, there was, so now we have to adapt. A lot of players now, we have to adapt. Like, from the coaching, if I was coaching the national team now, I would say, look, we need to bet spin, just like in the West Indies. They even do it against the West Indies. They open up against spin. So we need to now change our tactics.
Yes.
And start making sure that we bet, because you remember the first 5 overs, everybody's in. You need to go up the top. That means coming on the wicket, using your feet off the bat. So we need to develop our batsmen and playing spin.
Definitely.
A lot to think about.
A lot to think about, yeah. But it's not unactionable. A lot of this stuff is actionable. You could put it in place. We all talk about, we need money. I'm pretty sure somebody's got a video on the phone that they could, even in training, film the batsman, film the bowler. This is where you need to be. This is what, if you're going to do an in swinger or away swinger, or if you're building to a left-hander, right-hander, what you want to be able to do, what you want to accomplish. But most of our kids nowadays are visual, so you have to show them. Sitting in a classroom and telling them it's not always going to be the right way. We have to be able to show them what mechanically they're doing wrong to fix it.
And think about it now. We have more cricket on our television now than we've ever had.
Ever here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you got India versus England.
Right?
West Indies playing Pakistan.
West Indies playing Pakistan. You got the 100 on. Yeah. You've got the 2020 on. You've got even women's cricket on. So you're going to tell me, and the analysis and the breakdown that they actually give you is so in detail that you can learn from it right there. So I think we have to now direct our cricketers to these sorts of this television, and just get them to say, listen, embrace it, sit off and watch and analyze.
Yeah. And don't just watch it and say, oh, look, pick it apart.
Yeah. And practice. And practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that, like you said, with the Bayless Bay, I'm hoping that, the next county game will end. I'm hoping and I'm praying that it would end right. It will give us some good cricket. It will bring us back. But, in the meantime, I think that we really have to get, work started. We do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, it's been a good time here. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. Enjoy your week. Hopefully, looking forward to the exciting finish tomorrow in England. That's getting down to the wire. 3 sessions left. India, 70 odd runs ahead.
No, 100 and no, 100 and something runs ahead. Yeah.
130, what did I see? 130 something like that.
Yeah, I think 130, 150 ahead or something like that. Yeah.
So should be interesting. First section should be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Enjoy your night.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
All right.